The galaxy spiraled in endless motion, worlds rising, empires falling, and the Force threading through it all like an unseen tide. Yet on this quiet fringe of the outer rim, where an Imperial probe drifted through the vacuum, something happened that no Jedi, Sith, or scholar of the unknown regions had ever foreseen. Space tore open, not with the white streak of a hyperspace exit, nor the shimmer of a cloaking failure, but with a soundless, blinding rupture, as if reality itself had been punched through. A blue-white figure hurtled from a rift, tumbling past the probe at impossible speed. No ship, no hull, no life support, just a man. A man trailing a wake of cosmic fire. Clark Kent, Kal-El of Krypton, had faced collapsing dimensions before, but never like this. One moment he was saving his universe from a catastrophic implosion triggered by a destabilized singularity. The next, the fabric of space around him shattered into a web of glowing fractures. He remembered the light, the pull, the way his cells screamed as if a star had been ripped from their core. Then silence, motion, and now this new galaxy. If this place even was a galaxy. He drifted, half-conscious, body still buzzing from dimensional shock. His hearing, normally sharp enough to catch a whisper across continents, was muted, as though wrapped in velvet. His strength, too, felt distant. Not gone, but sluggish. His solar reserves were inconsistent, fluctuating as though the radiation around him were different. He opened his eyes. Stars. Hundreds. Thousands. But not arranged in any familiar patterns. Not the sky of his universe. Not the light of its suns. And one sun in particular, pale yellow, faint, far, reached his cells with thin, hesitant warmth. Not enough to fuel him fully. Not yet. But enough to keep him alive. He drew a breath just as the first thing in this strange new cosmos noticed him. A looming wedge-shaped shadow sliding into view from below, blocking the starlight like a descending nightfall. Superman blinked. A colossal warship, triangular armored, bristling with cannons, emerged from the darkness. Its engines rumbled like thunder across the void. He'd encountered massive interstellar vessels before, but not like this. Not with this sharp, authoritarian architecture. Not with this oppressive presence. Inside the Star Destroyer Judicator, alarms blared. Unidentified energy surge, port side. Sir, an organic reading, no life support system detected. Deploy recovery teams. Lord Vader wants anything anomalous brought aboard. Superman floated motionless as tractor beams enveloped him in violet light. He could have resisted, even in his weakened state. But confusion held him still. He didn't know where he was, or what forces governed this region of space. So, he allowed himself to be pulled in. Atmospheric pressure hit him first. Artificial gravity next. Then he felt the cold metal of a hangar deck beneath his boots as the tractor beam released him. Dozens of white-armored soldiers surrounded him, blaster rifles raised. He lifted his hands, not in surrender, but in cooperation. His mind raced with questions. Who were these soldiers? What kind of government-commanded ships of this size? Were they rescuers or jailers? One officer stepped forward, face hard beneath his cap. You will come with us. Any resistance will be met with lethal force. Superman studied the man. Fear under the sternness. Rigid discipline masking unease. And beneath everything, a sense of imperial order, the kind only a harsh regime enforces. This wasn't a rescue. Still, he nodded. I don't want any trouble. His voice echoed in the hangar, deeper than any human voice these soldiers had heard. A few shifted nervously. One trooper checked the settings on his blaster. They escorted him through gleaming corridors, their sterile lighting reflecting off polished metal. His senses slowly returning, picked up conversations behind sealed doors, the hum of engines miles deep within the hull, and the faintest tremor of something else. Something pervasive. An energy in all things, vibrating like a distant heartbeat. It wasn't like anything from his universe, but it reminded him, just slightly, of magic, of power without physical form. Whatever it was, it permeated everything on this ship. They stopped at blast doors that hissed open to reveal a darkened chamber filled with shadows. And within those shadows stood a figure unlike anything Kal-El had ever seen. Armored black from helm to boots. A breathing apparatus rasping like a mechanical beast. A cape falling like an abyss behind him. And presence, cold, oppressive, almost gravitational. Superman felt it immediately. The energy from before, denser, coiled like a living thing. The masked figure spoke. "You are not of this galaxy." Not a question. A statement. Superman steadied himself. "I think that's true. You fell from a rupture in space. An anomaly no scanners could define. The voice was male, hollowed by machines. Yet you live. And you radiate power." Superman's eyes narrowed. "Who are you?" The figure stepped closer. "I am Darth Vader." The name meant nothing to Kal-El. But the way the troopers stiffened told him enough. Authority. Fear. Command. Vader continued, circling him like a predator evaluating prey. "You carry no weapon. No armor. Yet your body endured the vacuum of space without protection. Explain this." Superman kept his voice calm. "I'm not here to harm anyone. I was trying to prevent a disaster in my universe. Something went wrong. I ended up here." Vader paused. "You claim to come from another universe." "I don't claim. I'm telling you what happened." Vader's mechanical breathing deepened. He raised a gloved hand slightly, not for aggression, but in contemplation. "And your power," he murmured, "is not of the Force." Superman frowned. "The what?" "Curious," Vader whispered. "You possess immense strength, yet no resonance. No echo. You stand outside the light and the dark. A paradox." Then Vader extended a hand toward him. The air shimmered. A force, literal force, pressed against Superman, pushing at his ribs, his arms, his will. Something invisible, trying to pin him to the floor. Superman tensed. It didn't hurt, but it resisted him in a way he'd never felt. Telekinesis? No. It was more than that. It was alive. Vader examined him as if testing a specimen. "You will accompany me to Coruscant for further examination." Superman's jaw tightened. "No." The troopers reacted instantly. Blasters aimed at his chest. Vader's rasp sharpened. "If you resist, you will be destroyed." Superman lowered his hands. His senses were returning more fully now, strength gathering beneath his skin, heat vision humming faintly behind his eyes. He wasn't at full power, but he wasn't helpless. And he didn't take orders from tyrants. "Let's talk this through," he said. "I'm not your enemy." Vader stepped closer. "In this galaxy, power not controlled by the Empire is the enemy." Superman exhaled slowly. Then the ship shook as a distant alarm blared. Something had gone wrong. Something big. And it would be the spark that changed everything. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The alarm wailed through the Star Destroyer Judicator, a shrill mechanical scream cutting through the cold metal corridors. Red lights pulsed overhead, bathing the interrogation chamber in an ominous glow. Troopers snapped into formation, weapons raised not just at Superman now, but at the sealed blast doors themselves. Vader turned his mask toward the ceiling, listening to some distant disturbance through the metallic storm of his breathing. "Bridge," he demanded through his comlink. "Report." Crackling static filled the chamber before a frantic officer responded. "My lord, we're detecting a massive atmospheric fluctuation in the hangar. Something is destabilizing the magnetic field." Vader's fist clenched. "Contain it." "Yes, my lord, but whatever's causing it, it started the moment the anomaly man regained consciousness." Superman grimaced. "That wasn't me." But even as he spoke, he felt it. His senses, still adjusting to this galaxy, picked up a sweeping surge of energy rippling through the ship. Not just electrical or mechanical. Something deeper, flowing like a tide through every living thing aboard. The Force, though he didn't yet know its name, was reacting to him, or resisting him, or trying to understand him, like an immune system recognizing something foreign. And the ship trembled from it. Vader turned back toward him. Your presence here is interfering with systems you do not understand. This Star Destroyer is not a laboratory for your instability. Superman raised both hands again, trying to keep the situation from worsening. Whatever's happening, I'm not deliberately doing anything. I don't even know where I am. Let me help stabilize things. Vader's voice dropped, cold and absolute. You will help by remaining exactly where you are. Superman's eyes narrowed. I didn't come here to be your prisoner. You are not a prisoner, Vader replied. Yet. Stormtroopers stiffened. The blast doors hissed open as the officer from earlier rushed in, helmet under his arm, sweat beading across his forehead. Lord Vader, the containment field is collapsing. We must vent the affected deck or risk losing the entire hangar. Superman's attention sharpened. You're going to vent a hangar full of people? To save the ship, the officer snapped. We don't have time to. Superman didn't wait. Not for permission. Not for debate. Not for Vader's inevitable order to stand down. He moved. Even weakened, Kal-El moved faster than any being aboard could track. The moment his foot touched the ground, the air cracked like a whip. The blur of his motion sent paper, datapads, and robes swirling as he vanished through the blast doors. Stormtroopers fired at where he'd been, 3 seconds too late. Red bolts scorched Durasteel. After him, Vader commanded, igniting his crimson blade with a furious hiss. The hallway blurred as Superman ran, slipping seamlessly into superspeed. His hearing, once muffled, surged into clarity as if the galaxy finally decided to speak without distortion. But in this corridor, nothing spoke of peace. Screams echoed from the hangar deck. The groan of metal under pressure. The howl of venting atmosphere. Soldiers shouting for lockdown. A technician whispering a desperate final prayer into the void. Superman tore through the hallways until he burst into an observation catwalk overlooking the primary hangar bay. He froze at the sight. The magnetic shield at the mouth of the hangar, meant to hold atmosphere inside while ships came and went, was flickering wildly. Blue sparks danced erratically as the field pulsed between transparency and collapse. Cargo droids and personnel slid helplessly toward the vacuum as the entire hangar deck tilted under emergency stabilizers. A group of stormtroopers clung to floor grates, boots scraping on metal. A technician dangled from a cable, screaming for help as her grip slipped. Several TIE fighters, unmoored, were already tumbling out into the void. Superman inhaled. That thin yellow light from a distant star, barely enough before, flooded his cells now with renewed urgency as adrenaline sharpened his senses. His body drank every photon greedily. His strength surged. One more second, and he'd be closer to full power. He leapt from the catwalk. Wind tore at his hair as he plummeted, cape fluttering violently behind him. His boots slammed into the deck with a force that cracked the metal plating underfoot. Dozens of helmets turned toward him, eyes wide behind their lenses. Superman didn't hesitate. He sprinted toward the flickering blue energy at the hangar entrance, pushing against the tempest of escaping atmosphere. Every step was a battle, wind roaring like a hurricane, debris battering him like shrapnel. A steel crate the size of a speeder smashed into his torso, splintering across his chest before ricocheting harmlessly off the wall. He reached the console on the far side just as two technicians lost their grip and slid past him toward open space. In a blur, he snagged both by their collars and set them safely behind a cargo barrier. The magnetic shield flickered again, nearly dropping entirely. The void yawned beyond it, black and endless. Superman planted himself between the console and the vacuum. Then he thrust his arms forward, bracing his palms against the shimmering energy barrier. The shield buckled like a soap bubble. His feet skidded backward as the vacuum pulled against him. The deck groaned. His muscles tightened, solar charge fibers absorbing the strain. "Come on," he muttered through clenched teeth. "Hold." He forced his heat vision into the console's emergency regulator. The beams lanced out in precise, controlled bursts, welding fractured components back into alignment. Circuits glowed red-hot, then steadied. The magnetic field surged, stopped flickering, stabilized. Air pressure normalized across the hangar with a thundering whoosh. He let out a breath. Stormtroopers stared at him, stunned. Not one raised a rifle. Not one spoke. In that moment, they weren't soldiers of the Empire. They were beings who had just watched a stranger from another universe save their lives. Superman turned toward them. "I'm not your enemy," he said softly. A blast of red light sliced through the air. Superman dodged instinctively as Vader leapt from the catwalk above, his cape billowing like a wing of night. He landed hard, crimson blade carving scorch marks across the deck where Kal-El had stood a heartbeat before. "You will not endanger this vessel further," Vader growled. Superman's eyes narrowed. "I just saved you people. They are expendable." Superman felt the words like a punch to the gut. Vader advanced. The blade hummed, a deadly, vibrating promise. The Force coiled around him like a storm. And Kal-El realized the truth. This galaxy had never seen someone like him. And he had never faced a darkness like this. The deck vibrated under Vader's boots as he advanced, each step measured, controlled, and deliberate. The crimson blade hummed a low, predatory note, like a beast tasting the air before striking. Smoke curled from the metal where he dragged the tip, carving a molten trail as if marking territory. Superman held his ground. "I don't want to fight you," he said, voice calm but firm. "It is irrelevant what you want," Vader replied. "You are a threat that must be contained or eliminated." The remaining stormtroopers scrambled to take cover behind crates and grounded fighters. Even they understood what was about to unfold. This was no skirmish. This was two forces colliding that the galaxy had never meant to meet. Vader raised his left hand. Superman felt it instantly, like invisible hooks sinking into his muscles. The pressure clamped around him, crushing, suffocating. The Force gripped him like a vice, trying to fold him in half. Superman staggered. The Force pressed harder, crushing him from all directions. His bones groaned. His lungs shuddered. His heartbeat thundered as if it were trying to punch its way out of his chest. Vader's voice rumbled from behind the mask. "You will kneel." Superman gritted his teeth. "I don't kneel to tyrants." Vader clenched his fist. The weight intensified, slamming Kal-El to one knee. The deck beneath him buckled and cracked. His vision blurred as the crushing pressure squeezed the air from his lungs. Then a spark. A flicker of golden warmth deep in his chest. As though this galaxy's distant sun whispered, "Get up." Superman's eyes snapped open, and he pushed back. The Force grip faltered for the first time. Vader's posture stiffened, surprised. Kal-El rose inch by inch, as if lifting a planet from his shoulders. Vader snarled, "Impossible." Superman stood fully upright. He wiped a trickle of blood from the corner of his mouth. "Where I'm from, I've heard that before." Vader lunged. The Sith Lord blurred into motion, faster than any human, but not faster than him. The lightsaber swept toward Kal-El's head in a burning arc. Superman dipped beneath it, heat washing over him. Vader spun, blade flashing in tight red loops designed to cut through armor, bone, starfighter hulls. Superman caught his wrist. The crowd gasped. Vader froze mid-swing, blade locked inches from Kal-El's cheek. The saber hummed angrily, crackling against Superman's skin without penetrating. Vader increased power, red energy intensifying, blade sparking. Superman didn't flinch. "Your weapon doesn't work on me," he said quietly. Vader's grip tightened. "Everything breaks." He shoved forward with the Force, a tidal wave crashing against Superman's mind and body. The deck plates rippled from the invisible shockwave. Crates launched across the hangar. Several troopers were hurled into walls. Superman slid back a foot. Just one. Then he planted himself against the storm like an anchor in a hurricane. He shoved back. This time Vader moved, sliding several meters before digging his boots into the deck to stop. The red blade hissed. The air between them crackled. For the first time in years, Darth Vader felt something he thought long buried. Resistance. Challenge. A worthy opponent. Superman exhaled, steadying his stance. "We don't have to do this." "You cannot comprehend what you oppose," Vader replied. "The Emperor will take you apart, atom by atom. I offer you survival." Superman shook his head. "You offer chains. And you offer chaos," Vader growled. "Already your presence destabilizes this vessel. You do not belong in this galaxy." Superman's eyes narrowed. "Then help me get home." Vader ignited his saber fully, the blade swelling with power. "You will serve the Empire first." Superman sighed. "Wrong answer." He blurred forward. The impact shook the hangar as Superman shoulder-checked Vader hard enough to launch the Sith Lord through 2 cargo crates. Metal burst outward like shrapnel as Vader crashed, skidding across the floor. Stormtroopers stared in awe and terror. Vader rose slowly, cloak torn, plating dented, but alive. Not many beings in any galaxy could do that to him. He raised his free hand again, and the entire hangar began to tremble. TIE fighters lifted off the ground without pilots. Cargo containers levitated. Loose debris spiraled. Superman blinked. "You're lifting the whole hangar?" "No," Vader said coldly. "I am lifting you." All at once, every suspended object hurled toward Kal-El like a storm of metal, engines, and swirling debris. Superman's eyes glowed red. "Fine," he muttered. Twin lances of heat vision erupted, slicing through debris with surgical precision as he vaulted into the air. He punched through a spiraling TIE wing, shattered 3 containers, and dodged a full engine block that barely missed him. Then, he vanished in a burst of speed. Vader's sensors barely registered the motion before. Crack. Superman drove a punch into Vader's chest plate that sent the Dark Lord flying across the hangar and through the cockpit of an empty TIE fighter. Metal imploded around Vader as he crashed to the ground in a shower of sparks. The troopers stared at Superman with an almost religious fear. Superman hovered above the deck, cape drifting with the warm currents rising from the wreckage. "Please," he said, voice carrying across the silent hangar. "Stop this. I don't want to hurt you." A deep mechanical breath cut through the quiet. Vader rose again, burned, damaged, cracked armor hissing steam. And for the first time, his voice wasn't cold. It was amused. "You are powerful," he said, "but you are not invincible." Superman frowned. Vader raised his hand. The Force gathered like a storm. And behind Superman, something ignited. A small spherical droid floated from the shadows, red photoreceptor glowing. A thermal detonator armed inside it. Superman turned too late. Vader whispered, "Let us test your limits." The thermal detonator detonated. A sphere of blinding white heat erupted behind Superman, consuming the air in a violent surge. The shockwave hit like a celestial hammer, sending flames spiraling toward the ceiling in a roaring column. Stormtroopers dove for cover. Debris skittered across the deck. Warning klaxons blared. The explosion swallowed Kal-El whole. For a moment, even Vader thought it might have worked. The smoke rolled across the hangar like a living thing, dense and choking, obscuring everything inside. Vader watched closely, sensors analyzing for life signs. Heat, motion, anything. Then, a silhouette appeared in the smoke. Unmoving, unbothered, unbroken. Superman stepped forward, flames rippling harmlessly across his cape before extinguishing. Not a scorch mark touched him. His hair barely moved. The hangar fell dead silent. Vader's breathing deepened. So, the explosion had done nothing. But Vader didn't panic. If anything, the Sith Lord seemed invigorated. "Your resilience," Vader said, "is wasted on mercy." Superman dusted ash from his shoulder. "And your power is wasted on fear." Vader angled his blade. "You misunderstand fear. It is purpose. It is order. It is what binds the galaxy." Superman hovered an inch off the ground. "Where I come from, fear only binds the people who wield it." Vader advanced. Superman met him halfway. They collided with the force of a meteor strike. The shockwave shattered several windows overlooking the hangar. TIE fighters toppled from their racks. Troopers tumbled like rag dolls. Vader's blade screeched across Superman's forearm as Kal-El blocked the attack, sparks showering, metal screaming. Superman grabbed Vader by the forearm and twisted, hurling him across the hangar. Vader flipped midair, landing in a three-point stance. He extended his hand and ripped a grounded TIE fighter from the floor, hurling it at Superman like a projectile. Superman caught it one-handed. The sight alone nearly made the stormtroopers faint. Kal-El set the TIE aside with almost gentle restraint. Enough. Stop throwing ships at me. Vader didn't. He hurled another. Superman smashed through this one, frustration building. Seriously? Vader raised both hands, and half the hangar's loose machinery levitated into the air. Superman sighed. Of course. The cloud of debris surged toward him in a tsunami of steel. Superman rocketed forward, bursting through the metal storm, weaving between engine blocks and shattered wings. His heat vision carved a path through the chaos. He reached Vader in a heartbeat. And Vader was ready. The Sith Lord thrust out his hand, and the Force hit Superman like a star-going supernova. The blow wasn't physical. It struck something deeper. A pressure, a presence, a gravity that crushed inward on the very space around Superman. Not his body, not his bones, his mind. Superman dropped to one knee, roaring as the Force constricted around his psyche, probing him, trying to tear open memories, fears, loss, pain. Krypton exploding. His parents' faces. Every life he failed to save. Every threat he barely stopped. Vader's voice slithered through the pressure. Yes, you know loss. You know fear. For all your power, you are a frightened creature clinging to hope. Superman's vision blurred red. Get out of my head. He slammed his palms to the deck, sending a seismic pulse outward. The wave knocked Vader off balance, severing his focus. The mental vice snapped. Superman exploded upward with a punch that cracked the air like thunder. Vader barely had time to raise his saber. Wham! The blow hurled him across the hangar and into a Durasteel support beam, bending it like soft wire. Vader slumped, sparks popping from his chest plate. Superman hovered toward him slowly. Stop. This isn't who you have to be. You're strong. You've survived things most people couldn't imagine. You don't need to serve the Empire. You don't need. Vader rose suddenly, blade igniting once more, fury shaking his voice. You presume to know my destiny? Superman's eyes softened. I know what it's like to feel alone. Vader froze. Just for a fraction of a moment. Then, the entire ship lurched. Red emergency lights flared. A voice screamed over the comm. Lord Vader, the Emperor is requesting immediate status. Your confrontation with the anomaly is causing structural instability across the Judicator. We are losing containment in multiple decks. The Emperor. Superman's expression tightened. Sounds like your boss wants a word. Vader's mask turned toward him. I do not answer to him. Superman blinked. That's not what it sounded like. Vader ignited his saber at full power. The blade roared. The Emperor will feel your presence, and he will come for you. I must subdue you before he arrives. Superman hovered back slightly. I'm not letting anyone use me as a weapon. Vader raised his saber. Then you leave me no choice. The hangar lights flickered. A deep vibration shook the floor. Something ancient and cold stirred behind Vader's presence. And far across the galaxy, another pair of eyes had begun to notice the anomaly. The hangar trembled again, deeper this time, like the very hull of the Judicator was groaning under the weight of something it had never been built to endure. The deck lights flickered, dimmed, then steadied. A coldness rippled through the air, subtle yet unmistakable, like a shadow stretching across a world. Superman felt it first. A presence. Not physical. Not even mental in the way he understood. It was like standing in the vacuum of space and watching a star die, quiet, inevitable, vast and merciless. Vader stiffened. Superman glanced at him. What is that? Vader's mask turned slightly, as if listening to a distant whisper. The Emperor has sensed you. Superman frowned. We're light years away. How could he? Through the Force, Vader said, almost reverently. Distance is irrelevant to him. Superman opened his mouth to respond. but the air dropped several degrees. Not from temperature, from presence. Like gravity binding itself around the room, Superman instinctively took a defensive stance. His senses sharpened, scanning the hangar, expecting someone or something to appear. But nothing did. Whatever he felt was not aboard the ship. And somehow, that was worse. Vader raised his saber. "We must end this now." Superman stepped back. "No. I'm done fighting you. I'm not going to keep smashing your ship apart." Vader's tone darkened. "You do not understand the danger you pose. The Emperor's reach is infinite within the Force. If he decides you are to be taken," the red blade in his hand vibrated with power, "there is no corner of the galaxy where you will find refuge." Superman's eyes flashed. "Then I'll give him a reason to stay away." He took a step forward, lowering his voice. "Help me. You clearly don't trust him. You barely even respect him. You don't want him to use me. Why? If he's so powerful, why not let him deal with me?" Vader's posture tensed. He didn't answer. But he didn't strike either. Superman's heart thudded once. Hard. "You're afraid of him." Vader lunged. Not with a killing blow, but with fury. Superman dodged easily, sliding back across the deck. "You dare." Vader roared. "This isn't about me," Superman said, raising his voice over the hum of the blade. "This is about you being trapped under someone else's shadow. You're the most powerful person on this ship, and yet you're terrified of a hologram 1,000 systems away." The hangar's overhead lights popped, one by one. Darkness swallowed the space. All that remained was the glow of Vader's crimson blade and the faint golden shimmer in Superman's eyes. Vader's voice echoed low and dangerous. "You presume much, alien." Superman floated slightly off the ground. "No. I just see clearly. You're strong. But he, whatever he is, keeps you chained." The deck shuddered again. A deep crack echoed through the hull. Metal warped. Panels sparked. The Judicator was straining under the feedback between Vader and the Emperor's presence. Two storms colliding across the Force. Superman braced against the vibration. "Whatever's happening, your ship won't survive another round of this." Vader's hand tightened around his saber, but his breathing faltered. Just for a moment. A war waged behind that mask, anger, pride, fear, identity, duty. None visible, yet all present like tectonic plates grinding beneath the surface. The hangar speakers crackled alive. "My lord, this is the bridge. We're approaching catastrophic failure. The anomaly's energy signature is resonating across the reactor. We cannot hold." The voice cut to static. Superman floated higher. "Let me stop this, or your crew dies." Vader took a single step forward, blade angled downward. "You will submit." "No." Superman slammed his palm into the deck. A shockwave rippled out, not destructive, but stabilizing. The ship steadied. The vibrations eased. For a moment, Vader stared, not at an enemy, but at something he didn't understand. Something he couldn't control. Something no Emperor could manipulate. Superman pointed to the deck beneath them. "These people don't deserve to die, because two men refused to back down." Vader said nothing. The silence stretched. Then, he deactivated his lightsaber. The hiss echoed across the hangar like an exhale from a dying god. Superman blinked, shocked. Vader clipped the hilt to his belt. "This changes nothing," he said. "It changes everything," Superman replied. Vader lifted a hand toward the exit. "Walk with me." Superman hesitated, then followed. But as they stepped out of the hangar, neither noticed the faintest ripple in the air behind them. A distortion, like a veil stirring, like something pressing against reality from the other side. Watching, waiting. The Emperor was coming, and he would not come alone. The corridors of the Judicator thrummed with tension, silent, humming, metallic unease. Stormtroopers lined the walls in perfect formation, yet none dared lift their blasters as Superman and Darth Vader walked side by side. Their boots echoed in mismatched cadence, Vader's heavy, mechanical stride and Superman's near-silent glide. Even without his enhanced senses, Superman could feel their fear. Not of him, of Vader, but beneath that, the deeper dread of something drawing nearer. Superman glanced at the Dark Lord. Your crew is terrified. They are disciplined, Vader replied. Fear strengthens discipline. Superman frowned. Fear breaks people. Then they were too weak to serve, Vader answered without turning. Superman recognized the tone, not arrogance. Resignation. A philosophy adopted out of necessity. A survival mechanism. They stepped into a turbolift. The doors hissed shut. For a moment, there was nothing but the rhythmic rasp of Vader's respirator. Superman crossed his arms. You said your Emperor sensed me. How? Vader's mask angled toward him. The Force binds the galaxy. It is a current that flows through all living things. When a disturbance of great magnitude appears, it echoes. A disturbance, Superman repeated with a small, ironic smile. That's what I am. You are an anomaly, Vader corrected. One of immense power. And the Emperor does not tolerate unknowns. The turbolift slowed. Superman stepped closer. You keep calling him powerful. But what does he actually do? What makes him so terrifying? The doors opened. Vader turned his mask fully toward him. He sees the future. They stepped out into the command bridge. Officers stiffened. Troopers saluted. The hum of consoles filled the air. The viewport revealed the swirling, unstable anomaly. The place Superman had torn through reality. It looked worse now, like a wound that refused to heal. Superman's eyes narrowed. That rift is expanding. Vader approached the main terminal. Yes, your arrival destabilized it. The Emperor believes it can be harnessed. Superman's jaw tightened. Harnessed for what? Vader did not answer. Superman didn't need Kryptonian intellect to guess. A new weapon. A dimensional breach. A way to reach more worlds to conquer. He turned sharply. I'm not letting that happen. Vader faced him. You do not have a choice. Superman clenched his fists. I always have a choice. The bridge crew went silent. Then, a holoprojector activated in the center of the room. Blue light flickered. Static danced. A cloaked figure appeared, hooded, hunched, radiating concentrated malice. Superman instantly felt the air tighten, as though invisible hands were closing around his lungs. Lord Vader, the Emperor's voice slithered through the air. Vader knelt. The officers followed. Troopers dropped to one knee. Superman remained standing. The Emperor's hood tilted toward him. So, this is the disruption I have foreseen. Superman straightened. I'm no one's disruption. A faint, rasping chuckle. You feel the need to declare yourself. Interesting. Fear of insignificance. Superman laughed once. I've faced gods, tyrants, monsters. I'm not afraid of you. Not yet, the Emperor whispered. But you will be. Vader rose slowly. My master, his power is beyond. Yes, the Emperor interrupted. I can feel it. Crude strength. A blunt force. Lacking nuance. Lacking direction. His voice sharpened, but malleable. Superman's eyes glowed faintly. I'm not something you get to mold. You misunderstand, the Emperor said. Everything in this galaxy bends to the Force, and you are no exception. Superman stepped forward. Try controlling me. Vader tensed, but the Emperor only chuckled. Oh, I will not exert myself. Not yet. This is merely a projection, but I will show you what awaits. The stars outside the viewport shifted. No, twisted. Superman's breath caught. A vision swallowed his senses. He stood on a burning world, ash falling from a red sky. Dozens, hundreds of ships descended above him, imperial insignias blazing. His hands were bound by crackling crimson energy. Vader stood at his right. Inquisitors knelt below him. And on a raised dais, the Emperor smiled. You will serve, Palpatine's voice whispered, echoing through the vision. The galaxy will break before you. Superman jerked out of the vision, fists clenched, breath ragged. Was that your future? He asked. No, the Emperor answered. It is your destiny, if you resist me. Superman stepped closer to the holoprojector. I won't let you enslave this galaxy. Enslave. The Emperor's laughter rasped. No, I offer structure, purpose, order. He leaned forward. You and I together could bring peace without end. Superman shook his head. Peace through fear isn't peace. Peace through power, young one. Vader's mask tilted toward Superman, watching, analyzing. The Emperor continued. You are searching for a way home. I can provide it. Superman froze. He hadn't said anything about wanting to return. Palpatine's smile widened. I see your memories as clearly as the stars. Krypton, Earth, your Lois, your world, all of it within your grasp once more. For the first time, Superman felt something twist in his stomach. Temptation. The Emperor leaned closer. Serve me, and I will open the path for you. Superman's voice came low, quiet, almost dangerous. And if I refuse? The Emperor's tone chilled. Then you will be corrected. Superman flared with heat vision, not firing, just glowing, like a sun warming before a flare. I'm not afraid of you. The Emperor's hologram darkened. Then you are a fool. The projection vanished. The bridge fell into suffocating silence. Vader turned to face him fully. What will you do now? Vader asked quietly. Superman gazed at the swirling anomaly beyond the viewport. I'm going to stop him. The ship trembled again, but this time it wasn't the anomaly. Something else had entered the system. Multiple signatures. Imperial. Fast. Aggressive. Vader's console chimed. The Emperor has dispatched an inquisitorious strike group, an officer reported, terrified. Vader's head lowered. They come for you, he said. No, Superman replied, rising slowly into the air. They come for us. The alarms blared before the words finished leaving Superman's mouth. A shrill, rising wail, the unmistakable sound of a Star Destroyer battle group locking onto a target. The Judicator's bridge crew scrambled to their stations, voices overlapping in a frenzy of warnings and telemetry updates. Multiple hyperspace signatures. Inquisitorious transponders confirmed. They're deploying TIE interceptors, several squadrons inbound. A boarding craft is on approach. Trajectory intersects decks C through F. Superman floated upward, just enough that his boots no longer touched the deck plating. His cape drifted behind him like a red banner, caught in an invisible breeze. Vader stood rigid. He didn't panic. He didn't rush. He simply watched. Your Emperor wastes no time, Superman said. This is how he tests threats, Vader replied. If they survive the Inquisitors, he considers them worthy of personal attention. Superman smirked faintly. Good. Saves me the trouble of tracking him down later. A bridge officer paled at the casual defiance. Vader turned sharply. Prepare for combat. Redirect all shields to starboard. Scramble TIE wings. Inform the hangar crew they will hold the Inquisitors for as long as possible. As long as possible? Superman asked. Vader's mask tilted toward him. The Inquisitors are not here to negotiate. Superman stepped closer to the viewport. The Inquisitor ships were closing fast, sleek, curved dark metal craft with red wing markings, slicing through space in tight formation. How strong are your Inquisitors? Superman asked. Trained by me, Vader answered. But your concern is not their strength. It is their purpose. And that is to break you. Superman cracked his knuckles. They're welcome to try. The first boarding craft hit the Judicator with a deafening clang that reverberated through the entire superstructure. The lights dimmed for half a heartbeat as emergency shielding rerouted power. Vader turned on his heel and strode toward the exit. Come. Superman followed without hesitation. The turbolift plunged downward, floors blurring past indicators. The mechanical hum filled the cramped space. Stormtroopers crammed in around them, clutching their blasters tightly. Superman looked at them, afraid, but ready. They would fight and die for orders they didn't fully understand. Vader noticed his gaze. Pity will only distract you. I don't pity them, Superman said. I respect their loyalty. Loyalty without choice is not virtue, Vader replied. Superman breathed out. You're talking about them or yourself? The mask angled slightly. But Vader didn't answer. The turbolift slammed to a stop. The doors hissed open, and a blast of red energy slammed into Superman's chest plate. It didn't hurt. But the troopers beside him were thrown against the walls. Superman blurred into motion, stepping forward, interposing himself between the troopers and the incoming fire. Smoke cleared. 3 Inquisitors stood in the corridor. Black armor, helms shaped like predatory birds. Double-bladed spinning sabers igniting in unison with a snarling hiss. The 5th brother stepped forward. His broad frame nearly filled the corridor. Lord Vader, we are here by order of the Emperor. Vader's tone was cold, flat. Your orders concern him, not me. The 3rd sister pointed her saber at Superman. By decree of the Emperor, the anomaly must be subdued or destroyed. Superman raised a brow. Anomaly? Really? Not even visitor. Guest? Wrong guy in the wrong galaxy? Her blade spun faster. You talk too much. The 7th sister whispered. He glows like a star. The 5th brother snarled. Form up. Superman stepped forward, hands up. I don't want this fight. The 3rd sister lunged. I do. Her saber slashed toward his throat and shattered. Superman didn't even flinch. The blade sparked violently, its unstable plasma flickering before dying out entirely. She stumbled back in shock. What? Superman caught the broken emitter gently, turned it over in his hand, and offered it back. You should get this fixed. The corridor shook from the sudden explosive clash as the 5th brother charged with a roar. His saber whirled like a crimson cyclone. Superman sidestepped. A tap with 2 fingers sent the hulking Inquisitor skidding down the hall, armor screeching across metal plating. The 7th sister tried something different, not brute force. She leapt onto the wall, sprinting along it, hand extended, sending a wave of dark energy crashing toward him. Not lightning, just raw hatred given form. A sound like tearing fabric filled the air. Superman felt it, not as pain, not as weakness, but as a pressure, a twisting sensation in the air itself. The force pulling, prying, trying to invade. He clenched his jaw, tore through the attack, and caught her by the wrist mid-strike. She froze. His eyes softened. You don't have to do this. She hissed, venomous. You know nothing about what I have to do. Vader stepped forward. Enough. The Inquisitors froze. Breathing halted. Even their sabers stopped humming, as if smothered by the Dark Lord's presence. Vader walked between them and Superman. You were sent to test his strength, Vader said. You have your answer. The 3rd sister swallowed hard. The Emperor demands. The Emperor, Vader thundered, does not have the full measure of this being. Superman raised a brow. You defending me? I am ensuring efficiency, Vader replied. Wasteful conflict served no one. The corridor lights flickered, and another tremor rolled through the ship. The anomaly outside pulsed. Superman sensed it in his bones. It was calling to him, or calling for him. The 7th sister whispered, more ships are coming. We're only the first wave. Superman's jaw tightened. Then your Emperor wants a war. Vader turned toward him. He wants you, one way or another. The 5th brother regained his footing. We will not leave without completing the mission. Superman stepped forward, cape billowing behind him. Then maybe you should rethink your mission. The Inquisitors tightened their grips, but none attacked. Not with Vader standing there. Stand down, Vader commanded. And tell the Emperor what? The 3rd sister snapped. Vader turned his mask toward her, voice a metallic growl. Tell him he must come himself. Silence. Pure, horrified silence. Superman blinked. Did you just challenge your Emperor? Vader didn't look at him, but he didn't deny it. The Inquisitors exchanged terrified glances. For the first time, fear was not directed at Superman, but at Vader. Superman floated slightly off the ground. What now? He asked. Vader answered without hesitation. Now we prepare. The deck shuddered again. The anomaly pulsed violently. More hyperspace signatures appeared on scanners. The Emperor's armada was gathering. And somewhere deep inside the rift, something stirred. Something familiar. Something Kryptonian. Superman's breath caught. No. Not here. Not now. Not in this galaxy. Vader noticed his expression. What is it? Superman's voice came out barely above a whisper. A message. His super hearing sharpened, tuning into the impossible, listening across dimensions. A faint breaking signal. A voice. Cal, help, trapped. Fortress collapsing. It wasn't Lois. Not Jonathan. Not even anyone from Earth. It was Kara, his cousin, alive, calling from the far side of the rift. Superman turned toward the anomaly. Vader lifted his saber, hilt slowly. You intend to enter it. Superman's eyes shone with blazing purpose. I have to. Vader stepped forward. Then you will not go alone. Superman stared at him. You'd follow me into another dimension? Vader ignited his saber, the red blade erupting once more. For power. He paused. For answers. And finally, for freedom. Superman nodded once. Then let's finish this. The Judicator groaned as Superman and Vader made their way to the hangar bay. Emergency lights bathed the corridors in a crimson glow, smoke and sparks drifting like specters in the stale air. Alarms screamed, warnings blared, and the shuddering of the ship against the rift's energy made every step a jolt in a trembling corridor. Superman hovered just above the floor, his cape trailing behind like a comet's tail. Vader moved with mechanical precision, every movement economical, lethal, and unervingly calm. Together, they cut an improbable silhouette, a symbol of raw power and discipline standing against the chaos of the galaxy unraveling around them. The hangar doors hissed open. Outside, the void pulsed with energy. The rift had grown into a massive tear in reality, jagged edges shimmering with colors that didn't exist anywhere in the known universe. Stars stretched and warped as though the laws of physics were reconsidering themselves. Look at it, Superman muttered. It's alive. It reacts to you, Vader replied. It is not merely a tear. It is a nexus of power, responding to your presence. The Emperor seeks to control it, but he underestimates its complexity. The first Inquisitor boarding wave had been held back, but now distant energy signatures approached fast. Reinforcements, both imperial and unknown entities, swirled like a storm. Superman clenched his fists. If I go in there alone, I might not come back. And if the Emperor reaches it first, he'll weaponize it against countless worlds. Vader tilted his head. Then you do not go alone. They approached the edge of the hangar where the rift seemed to pulse in recognition, almost as if it knew Kal-El. Energy arcs snaked across the floor, crackling and singing in unnatural harmonics. Superman raised his hands instinctively. The energy, it's feeding off the Force. And me. Vader's mask turned slightly, his breathing measured. Then we use it. We harness its flow, manipulate the currents of the Force and its distortions. If we enter unprepared, we die. If we fail, the galaxy dies. Superman swallowed. So we improvise? Vader ignited his lightsaber, its red glow reflected in the kaleidoscope of the rift. We do not improvise. We dominate. Superman nodded. Then, let's dominate. Before stepping into the rift, Superman took a deep breath. The air, or whatever passed for it at this interface between dimensions, was thick with energy. He could feel his Kryptonian physiology resonating with the rift's exotic power. Heat vision flared briefly to stabilize his nerves. Vader extended his hand. We move together. Any separation could be fatal. The Force within this space will test every flaw, every hesitation. Superman mirrored his motion, and the two advanced. The first step was into a blinding cascade of energy, as if the universe itself had ripped open and demanded passage. Stars stretched into lines. Gravity twisted. The air, or what they perceived as air, screamed around them. Superman felt his strength faltering slightly, not from weakness, but from adaptation. The rift's energy interfered with his solar absorption, distorting the radiant power that normally coursed through him. Still, he retained about 90% of his capacity. He would have to conserve it until he understood the rift's rules. Vader, surprisingly, was undeterred. He used the Force to anchor himself, letting the rift's turbulence push and pull against him like a challenge he relished. He moved forward with purpose, each step deliberate, each gesture reinforcing their momentum into the unknown. They entered fully. The world beyond was alien. Space was fractured into shards of light and shadow. Structures resembling massive spires floated impossibly, tethered by energy filaments that hummed with force resonance. Superman scanned the area. There were life signs. One familiar. Kara's. "Kara," he whispered. Her figure was suspended within a prism of golden light, eyes wide, staring at the intrusion with fear and hope mingled. She reached toward him, but the rift's currents pulled her back. Superman surged forward, pushing against the shifting gravity and energy flows. "Hold on," he called. Vader moved alongside him, intercepting destabilized floating debris with precise telekinetic strikes. "The currents are violent. You will need to focus. Restrain your power to interact safely." Superman gritted his teeth, forcing control over his strength and flight. It was unnatural for him. Restraining Kryptonian power went against every instinct, but the rift demanded it. A sudden flash of dark energy erupted from the rift itself, a manifestation of the Emperor's influence, distant yet perceptible. The presence sought to dominate, to twist, to corrupt. Vader raised his saber and gestured, pulling a defensive halo of force energy around them. "It senses your defiance. It will test you." Superman's eyes glowed briefly, scanning for the source of the intrusion. He recognized the pattern. It wasn't just the rift reacting. The Emperor had seeded his own signature within it, a tether reaching toward them, like a predator stalking prey across dimensions. "Is he here?" Superman asked. "Not yet," Vader said. "But soon." Superman clenched his fists, feeling both the pressure of the rift and the tug of familial ties. Kara's golden aura flickered under the strain, threatening to vanish. "We have little time," Superman said. "Help me stabilize her." Vader extended both hands, manipulating the force with precision. Golden strands of energy intertwined with the rift currents, creating a path to Kara. Superman augmented it, pushing his powers through the disruption to reinforce the tether. The energy resisted, screaming, clawing at them. But together they created a fragile bridge. Kara floated closer, a few meters at a time. Then the rift pulsed violently. A shadow loomed in the distance, a figure encased in darkness, hooded, impossibly tall. The Emperor himself had crossed the threshold. Superman's heart raced. Kara was within reach, but the Emperor's presence was immediate, suffocating. The currents swirled around them, threatening to rip everything apart. Vader's voice cut through the chaos. "He comes for the anomaly. Prepare yourself." Superman glanced at him, eyes locking. In that moment, there was no alliance, no morality, no ideology, just raw understanding. To survive, to protect, to save Kara, they would have to fight together. The rift pulsed once more. A surge of energy hurled both Superman and Vader backward, but the bridge to Kara held. The connection was tenuous, but alive. Superman's eyes blazed. "I will not let him take her." Vader's saber ignited. "Nor will I." The Emperor's laughter echoed through the rift, a sound that warped reality itself. "Ah, Kal-El the alien, you overestimate your power." Superman clenched his fists, heat vision and rift energy flaring in a controlled, dazzling display. He surged forward. Kara's golden aura flickered closer. And Vader, the Dark Lord of the Sith, advanced alongside him, saber spinning, commanding the currents of the Force like a conductor controlling the storm. This was the convergence, the moment where galaxies, worlds, and dimensions collided. The true test of strength, will, and resolve. And neither would yield. The rift convulsed violently, shrieking as if alive, responding to the clash of powers within it. Superman and Vader pushed forward through the pulsing chaos, their combined might a defiance against the Emperor's looming presence. Kara's golden aura shimmered like fragile sunlight trapped in a storm, moving closer with each step. The Emperor's figure solidified on a floating platform of dark energy, hovering just beyond the bridge Superman and Vader had carved through the dimensional currents. His hooded form radiated malice, but it was restrained, calculating, like a predator observing prey about to make a mistake. "You truly believe you can defy me," he hissed, his voice a mix of malice and amusement, across dimensions, across laws I control. Superman floated higher, eyes blazing, heat vision ready but restrained. I don't believe it. I know it. I've faced gods before. And I'll stop you. The Emperor raised both hands, dark energy crackling, reaching out with the Force, not to attack, but to manipulate the rift itself. Space bent around him. Stars stretched into unnatural forms. Even Superman's solar-augmented body strained under the dimensional distortion. Vader ignited his saber, stepping between Superman and the Emperor. "We will not allow you to enslave her or this galaxy," he growled. Palpatine's laughter echoed, chilling the very air. "Do you think you two, together, can withstand the currents of creation itself? The rift will bend you. It will break you." Superman surged forward, testing the rift's energy with controlled bursts of his strength. He could feel it trying to corrupt his power, to warp his connection to reality itself. But he forced control, channeling the energy toward Kara's prism of light, holding the bridge steady. Vader joined, weaving the Force with ruthless precision, creating defensive eddies around them. His red blade carved arcs through the dark energy, deflecting tendrils aimed at both him and Superman. Together, Alien and Sith moved as one, a temporary but necessary truce forged in sheer necessity. The Emperor's eyes glinted. "Fascinating, you survived the currents, yet you cling to sentiment. That weakness will be your undoing." A pulse from the rift surged, throwing both Superman and Vader off balance. Superman's body staggered midair, the rift energy interfering with his solar absorption, temporarily weakening him to approximately 85% of capacity. Pain flickered across his chest, a strange foreign sensation that reminded him he was far from home, far from the sun that gave him strength. Vader's saber swung with deadly precision, cutting through a surge of dark tendrils. He growled, more to himself than anyone else. "He underestimates us, all of us." Superman recovered instantly, eyes narrowing. Heat vision flared, slicing through the twisting rift currents to reinforce the bridge to Kara. He felt her reach him, faint but steady, as her prism of light aligned with his power. The Emperor's frustration was palpable. "You defied destiny itself. Very well. Witness your end." With a gesture, the Emperor unleashed a torrent of dark energy directly at Superman. The pressure tore at reality, distorting both the rift and the surrounding area. Walls of fractured space threatened to collapse in on them. Superman caught the blast, absorbing it with every ounce of his strength, radiating the energy outward in a controlled release. Sparks of energy danced across his body, and the surrounding rift currents flared violently. His Kryptonian physiology adapted, feeding off the residual energy, but the strain was immense. Vader lunged at the Emperor, saber ignited, slicing through the dark energy with uncanny precision. The Emperor parried with the Force, deflecting Vader without physical contact, the two locked in a battle of energy and willpower. Superman saw Kara, the golden prism now only meters away, yet the rift's turbulence threatened to rip her back. "Hold on, Kara," he shouted. She responded, gripping the energy bridge as tightly as she could. Superman reached out, his hands glowing with solar and rift energy, stabilizing her. For the first time, the bridge shone brighter than the surrounding chaos, a beacon of hope. Palpatine's rage flared. "Impossible!" he screamed, forcing the currents around him to twist violently. Fragments of reality tore loose, forming jagged shards that hurtled towards Superman and Vader. Superman's vision flared red with heat vision as he deflected the shards, each burst of energy carefully measured. His flight blurred across the rift, positioning himself strategically while maintaining the bridge's integrity. Vader, channeling the Force, pulled a massive fragment of the rift itself and hurled it at the Emperor's platform. The dark energy surrounding Palpatine flared, momentarily disrupted. Superman seized the opportunity. He surged forward, fists clenched, eyes glowing, energy brimming. Kara now. Kara's prism of light merged with his energy, creating a conduit that surged through the rift. The Emperor's presence screamed as his tendrils of dark energy were pulled into the stabilizing bridge, neutralized by the combined power of Superman and Kara's connection. The rift shuddered violently, then contracted. The colors that had defied nature snapped back into coherent streams of energy. Stars aligned, and the twisting chaos began to solidify into stability. Palpatine staggered, caught off guard. His platform wavered, the dark tendrils that had assaulted Superman and Vader recoiling as the rift itself resisted him. "You cannot," he rasped, fury and disbelief in his voice. Vader advanced, blade humming. "You are finished here, Emperor." Superman's fists clenched, solar energy flaring, but controlled. "Stay back. This ends now." The Emperor's projection faltered as the rift's currents no longer obeyed him. In one synchronized moment, Superman's energy and Vader's force manipulation compressed the Emperor's influence, forcing him to retreat. Kara floated free, golden aura stabilizing. She reached out, and Superman grabbed her hand, holding her close. The bridge between them was no longer tenuous. It was solid, glowing with a power that neither the Emperor nor the rift could corrupt. For the first time, the dimension felt calm, stable. Superman hovered beside Vader, looking at the retreating shadow of Palpatine. "He'll be back." Vader's red blade hissed softly. "Yes, but not like this. Not yet." Superman nodded, eyes softening as he looked at Kara. "We've bought time. That's all we can do right now." Vader deactivated his saber, the red glow fading. "Time is all some of us ever have. Use it wisely." Superman turned to the rift one last time. It pulsed faintly, now dormant but still humming with latent power. He and Kara exchanged a glance, a silent promise of vigilance. Vader's mechanical breathing filled the silence. "We have survived the test, but the galaxy and the multiverse are far from safe." Superman nodded. "Then we keep fighting, together." And in the center of the rift, the shadow of the Emperor lingered, watching, waiting, knowing that the anomaly had survived. The Judicator floated in the quiet aftermath, hull groaning as the emergency power system stabilized. The rift hung nearby, now a muted shimmer instead of a chaotic void, its energy whispering faintly, almost contemplatively. Superman hovered above the deck, Kara clinging to his arm, both surveying the aftermath. Vader's presence was steady, a pillar of dark energy and calculated control. "This ship, this anomaly," Kara said softly, her voice trembling. "It's still here. It's alive somehow." It felt scared. Superman nodded, eyes scanning the rift. "It's responding to the Force, and to me. Somehow it knows. It remembers. And it won't be quiet for long." Vader's mechanical breathing filled the silence. "The Emperor will attempt another breach. Soon. The anomaly will be a target, and not just by the Sith. Others may perceive it as power beyond imagination." Superman clenched his fists, feeling the pull of his alien physiology, the hunger for the sun, for Earth's warmth. But here, in this galaxy, he had purpose. Kara's hand in his reminded him of what mattered most. He wouldn't abandon her, no matter how foreign the threat. Vader's gaze remained fixed on the rift. "You have allies now, but that does not mean safety. The galaxy's politics are fragile. You have shifted its balance simply by arriving." Superman tilted his head. "So what now? Do we close the rift? Contain it? Let it stabilize?" Vader's mask gave the faintest tilt, a gesture almost human. "We watch. We prepare. And we strike if it threatens everything. That is the way of the Force and the way of the Sith in its own way." Superman allowed himself a deep breath. The tension in the air, the ever-present hum of the anomaly, and the residual currents of the rift energy created an atmosphere heavy with potential danger. But it also offered a sense of clarity he hadn't expected. In this galaxy, his power meant responsibility. His choices now could echo across star systems, affecting countless lives. Kara floated beside him, golden light still shimmering faintly around her. "We should leave," she said. "Before more come. Before he comes again." Superman looked at Vader. "Will you come with us?" Vader's breathing filled the pause. "The galaxy remains mine to oversee, but I will not abandon this anomaly either." Its survival is necessary. Superman nodded. Trust, in its own strange way, had been forged between them. Temporary, uneasy, but functional. The Judicator's crew began repairing the damage caused by both the rift and the Inquisitor attack. Stormtroopers moved with renewed purpose, their discipline tempered by the example of what they had just witnessed, the impossible power of Superman working alongside the Dark Lord himself. As the days passed, Superman and Kara trained together, exploring the limits of their combined abilities in the alien environment. Superman adapted his powers to the Star Wars galaxy, understanding how the rift influenced his strength, how the Force subtly interacted with his physiology. Kara, too, learned to manipulate the prism of energy she could generate, creating a synergy that stabilized the anomaly's currents further. Vader, ever the vigilant observer, maintained contact with both, offering guidance without interference. The Dark Lord's lessons were harsh but precise, focused on control, strategy, and survival, knowledge that neither Superman nor Kara had received in their home dimension. The galaxy beyond the Judicator shifted subtly. Systems that had once been complacent now speculated about the anomaly. Word of an alien of incredible power, accompanied by a mysterious apprentice of the Force, began to spread through channels both imperial and clandestine. The Emperor, though thwarted, remained patient, knowing that the rift's potential could be exploited eventually. Superman stared out at the stars, Kara at his side. I came here expecting a challenge. I thought I would be the strongest. But this galaxy has taught me something. And that is? Kara asked. That strength isn't just about power, he said, eyes softening. It's about choices. Responsibility. Using what you have to protect, not dominate. Vader's voice, low and mechanical, broke the quiet. Wisdom is a lesson learned through hardship. You have learned it quickly, Kal-El. Few in this galaxy understand it so early. Superman smiled faintly. Then maybe that's why we're here. Maybe some things are meant to cross paths, even across galaxies. Kara squeezed his arm gently. So what now? Superman looked at the stabilized rift. We protect it. We learn from it. And we prepare. Because one day, the Emperor, or something worse, will return. Vader's blade hummed faintly in the background, a reminder that darkness lingered, but also that it could be challenged. For now, though, there was peace. The rift pulsed with a quiet energy, no longer chaotic, but alive, waiting, a testament to the courage and alliance forged across worlds. And somewhere in the distant reaches of the galaxy, the stars themselves seemed to acknowledge the arrival of a new legend, an alien protector, a Dark Lord's unexpected ally, and a cousin reunited across impossible dimensions. For Superman, the galaxy was no longer just a place of conflict. It was a home he could defend, a puzzle to understand, a force to shape. And Kara, alive, powerful, and resolute, reminded him that some bonds could transcend worlds. The anomaly remained. The galaxy waited. And a new legend had begun. Superman had arrived in a galaxy far, far away, and faced a test unlike any in his Kryptonian life. Confronted by the Emperor himself, pursued by the Inquisitors, and forced to navigate alliances with one of the most feared Sith Lords in history, he discovered the true meaning of power, responsibility, restraint, and moral clarity. Together with Kara and Vader, he stabilized the rift, protected the innocent, and thwarted the Emperor's immediate plans, all while preserving his agency and iconic strength. This what-if scenario revealed that even the mightiest heroes cannot act alone. They must adapt, cooperate, and make morally complex decisions to survive. In doing so, Superman reshaped the Star Wars galaxy, creating ripples that would alter its future conflicts, alliances, and philosophical debates about the balance of power. The rift remained, a constant reminder of what had occurred, a nexus of potential, and a symbol of unity between alien heroism and the enduring struggles of the Force.